What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Justin Rodriguez, your favorite lender here in Neighborhood Loans, and we're back with another episode of Cafecito Talks. And this one has been a long time coming. I know he was actually one of the first guests that joined my podcast, and we were in a different studio. Everything was a little bit different, and now this is just kind of a refresher on where we're at and just kind of giving a little background. I know there's been a lot of change in both of our careers, so it's pretty cool to kind of see. I think it's been like 2 years, bro. Almost 2 years. How much things can change in 2 years and how much growth can occur in those 2 years in every single aspect of life. So it's definitely a pleasure to have Noah. Thank you so much for coming back, man. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Of course. I know that major changes that have happened over the last couple of years. Obviously, your family, you have spent a lot of time with your family. Your business is growing. You have changed environments in your business. So you want to kind of give like a recap over the last 2 years? What's changed, brokerage, everything that's came along?
Yeah, I guess I try to keep it short, right? Because obviously everything moves fast. But in the last 2 years, 2 daughters continuing to grow. They're about to start school next week, so it goes fast. I know you got your daughter, so.
And this is their first year of school? Or
yeah, pre-K, all of that fun stuff. I mean, they start at 3 and 4 years old now, so it's crazy. But that's been keeping me super busy. Yeah. And then last time I was here, I had my own brokerage firm, boutique firm, NF Properties, and then now we merged it with Pack Home Realty.
Oh, wow, bro. So, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Now we're growing. Now we're nationwide, cloud-based, rev share model, so we're excited.
That's awesome. Okay, so well, first off, let's talk about sending the girls to school. How's that feeling been? I know that, bro, I'm already starting to cry myself, and I haven't even started that. Like, I'm like, just think about sending her to school. I'm like, okay, good. But how's that feeling, man?
It's insane because obviously, I don't know if because they're my baby girls or my princesses or what, right? But I try to kind of stone cold face, keep it cool. My wife is the one who's like, "You're not gonna cry?" I was like, "No,
I'm good.
I'm fine."
Go to the bathroom.
But internally, I'm breaking down. I mean, it's. I think next Thursday we're gonna meet the teachers, and the week after they're starting the school, and it's just like, man, they're in school already. I'm already picturing them like graduation, walking down the aisle. My mind goes crazy. So I try not to get too wrapped up. It's just like, hey, let's enjoy the moment. But yeah, I can't believe it's already the first day of school. So
it's funny you say that. I think that has something that I've added to my routine. Every single morning, I go on a walk and I just listen to podcasts. I listen to quotes. I listen to different things to kind of train and vamp my mind for the day. And as you say that, like the first thing that my mind automatically goes to is a quote that I actually just heard. Every morning, my girl's probably like, this motherfucker, he just woke up. He's already like trying to motivate the world. And Patrick David had a quote that he recently said in a podcast that he said, one of the hardest parts, and it really hit me that morning. He said, one of the hardest parts about being a dad is that you're teaching the people that you can not imagine your life to be without you. Oh, man. And so it's like, you know, to kind of like summarize it, you really think about it, you can't imagine a life without your kids. You can't imagine a life with them being independent, but you have to teach them to be independent. And that's why it's like when they're going to school, when they're doing these things, when they're starting their career, it's just hard to wrap your mind around because you're really preparing them for life without you. And obviously you're going to be present, but it's not the same. The older they get, they have their own jobs, their own careers and stuff. And that's one of the main things that I have learned over the last, I would say 2 years, is that it's your mindset. You told me, you were like, when you have a kid, your mindset's going to completely change. It's going to shift your mind. And you don't understand what that means until you actually have your daughter. You see her smile. You see her looking at you. Start seeing words. They see papa, mama, all that stuff really just changes your perspective on life. And that's one thing that I'm interested to hearing from you is your perspective as you have 3 years, 4 years ahead of me of being a father. Like, how has that changed, developed your mindset within your household, and then even outside of that with your business?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's I like to think it's more of the same because I always had that strong inclination that when I was coming up, you know, my dad was my hero. I wanted to be like him, right? And I have an awesome relationship with my mom, but like you said, as a parent, you got to prepare your kids to be without you, right? So now I'm out of the house. Now I have my girls, and it's like, oh man, what am I going to do when they're not here? But they have to prepare themselves. So I just, you know, when you're by yourself, it's just you and your girl, and you're just going out, having a great time. That's awesome. So we maximized that as much as we could. We traveled, we did our thing. So that was a blessing in itself. And when we have kids, a lot of people kind of like say, "Hey, well, things are gonna change, right? They're gonna take too much time, too much energy. You're not gonna be able to travel anymore." And I was like, "BS,
Yeah.
BS." So we grabbed the girls from, like, I think our first trip with our oldest, well, she was at 4 months, and we went to Mexico,
Yeah.
you know. And then
Nice.
we had the second baby, and same thing, 6 months, a year, she's traveling with us. I go to with business, I go to a lot of networking events. We travel for that. They come with me. So
Yeah.
I started to kind of incorporate them into my daily life. You know, you mentioned you get up in the morning, you listen to the podcasts, and you get your workout in. They come to the workout with me, you know. So they start then to then see that. And that's one thing that I didn't have growing up, that, you know, I saw my dad working out, but he wasn't like, come work out with me. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
was kind of
yeah.
like he was just doing his thing. But you see that, and I saw from afar. Oh, he kind of stays active. He works out. He does his thing. So then I picked it up.
Yeah.
So now I take my girls with me, and then hopefully they start to then pick it up. So when they are older, they have those built-in habits. Hey, dad works out. Mom works out. They take care of themselves health wise. They take care of the stuff at the house, and he takes care of business, because as a result, that's why he's doing it.
Right.
You know, so I try to always kind of like give them glimpses, like, oh, Papi, don't go, because I gotta go to work, right?
Right. Right.
I was like, Papi's gotta go pay the bills. He's gotta go buy you some more toys.
Yeah.
You know. So like, I leave the house for you guys. You know, and somehow I hope that sticks with them and that resonates in the future. So it's just kind of giving them that example,
Yeah.
but also incorporating them into your daily life, where you don't stop, you don't slow down, you still enjoy it, you still have enjoy yourself, have to give yourself time, and give yourself time to your partner, where they deserve it too, you know. And it's this big family dynamic, and that's what I constantly kind of build. And then that's the personal side, and then business, you know, it's kind of like that work-life balance. It's just, in my opinion, there is no such thing. You have to kind of just make them work at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think life is kind of like a seesaw, right? Like, I think there's some moments where, like, it's okay to be like, all right, in this moment, you know, I'm sacrificing some business so that way I could spend a little bit more time with my family to enjoy experiences. But then there might be some times where, like, hey, you're not going to see me until 7, 8 o'clock because I'm like grinding. This is my mode and moment for me to be able to tune in and try to get as much business as much as we possibly can, because we're in sales. And I think that's really important, though. What you said is the understanding, having your kids understand why you do it, and speaking to them verbally, actually having them understand, like, hey, look, those toys that you have right there is because Papi is working hard every day. So that way, right? Santa Claus is definitely a miracle, because that don't happen. You know, you gotta make sure that you're working towards it. And I think I'm looking forward to having those types of conversations with my daughter. And I can honestly say that when I look at that, it's true. It's like, what is the cost of winning? What is the cost of success? And it's really devoting your time and energy away from your family, so that way you can go ahead and eventually provide for them. And it kind of gets me back to the coach that coached MJ. This is like one of the best quotes that he ever told me, and it was very deep, because he was talking about his daughter. He obviously had to sacrifice so much to be able to be MJ's coach. He was Kobe Bryant's coach, and you know, you kind of think about it as how much time away he had to sacrifice from his family to be able to have those opportunities, because they're traveling 82 games a season, whatever. And there was one time he was going away with one of MJ's games. He had to go fly out to LA or whatever, wherever he was going, and his daughter looked at him, and I was like, Papi, what does it have to take for you to stay home? And then he's like, well, Dad's going home so that way we could provide for food on the table and make sure that everything is safe and sound and we're paying for bills. And she was like, well, if I eat less, does that mean that you'll stay home more? Oh, imagine your daughter telling you that, you know, you're like, fuck, dude, do I stay home or do I do this? And eventually, like, you know, you fast forward, you hear the rest of the story, and eventually, you know, he addressed that with her as she got older. Was like, hey, like, was that detrimental to you? How did you feel about it? And she was like, no, now I know why you do what you do. And again, it goes back to the whole, you kind of have to teach them let the butterfly learn how to fly. Yeah. Right. You kind of have to get them into that mindset where you got to be independent at some point in time. As much, I think it's harder for men with their daughters, because that's your little baby girl, you know. But, you know, I think that's one of the hardest parts of the journey that I had to learn in the last 2 years to accept that it's okay that it's a teeter-totter. Like there's some moments that are going to be more geared towards your family, but there's some moments where I'm so locked in that there's nobody that's going to get me out of my locked in zone, you know?
Yeah, it's always a struggle. It's always a challenge, but I think you hit it right on the head. As long as you communicate why you're doing what you're doing, and you communicate with them, with your partner and with the kids, they're the ones that matter, right? Because they're the ones that are looking to spend time with you. They want to spend that time with you, and they'll do things like eat less to have you stay home and whatnot. But they, at the same time, if you're anything like me, which you obviously we connect in that level where we're drivers, we want success. We're not waiting for just a handout, you know, and we want it all, and we want to win, and we want to win at a high level. And the way I see it is like, well, why not? Why not do that and still have the beautiful, happy family?
Yeah.
You know, because, there's a lot of people that have to make those sacrifices, and absolutely. But I think we're in an industry where we can have both. You 100%. Know, we can totally, especially with the way things are with technology, you are able to travel. You are able to get away. You are able to do and conduct business at a high level and still have your family there.
Right.
You know, whether it's taking them to that trip and answering your phone just for a couple moments, they'd be like, hey, we're going to take a little break from the pool. Poppy's got to send some emails. I got to negotiate that deal, you know? So as long as they know that, you know, that's it. And then I always tell them as well, like, Poppy's going to be away for a while, long days. Hey, but if we hit our target, we're going to Disneyland. Yeah. We're going to Disney World. You know, like you gotta also kind of play that game with them where it's like, okay, if he works hard, we're gonna get this.
Poppy, do we hit the target?
Yeah, you know, and then they hold me accountable like nothing else. So it's really cool once you start kind of doing that. And it's not easy. It's a challenge. Not everybody can do it, and a lot of especially with us men, a lot of men just kind of put it off, and then they don't have that or can't find that, or they're focused solely on just the work life, and the personal life kind of takes a back seat. But I always made it a point that I wanted both, you know, so I kind of made my habits and the way I operate to go in that direction.
No, 100%. I think that's cool. I don't think a lot of people speak about that part where it's like, you know, you put in the work, you put in the time and effort into the business, but like, you know, you share with your partner and your kids that like, hey, if we hit this goal, this is what we're gonna do, and that kind of gives everybody like yourself the motivation, like, hey, I want to take on Disneyland. If you don't hit it, then like, you know, hey, Poppy ain't hit the goal. You know, I got to get to work. And then, you know,
they're going to remind you.
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't hit the goal.
No, yeah, but that's funny. But I think one of the biggest differences, number one, is like you said, your partner is going to be really important. Obviously, you know, I just got engaged. So this is the first podcast I got engaged.
Hey,
so
congratulations, man.
You're the guy. You're the first guy to talk about it. And I think that the one thing I see from a lot of successful individuals is that, you know, your partner's kind of that rock, that person that helps you and continues to grow you. Like it's almost to the point where your partner is your biggest cheerleader, and the biggest thing that you take away from that is that the rest of the world doesn't necessarily matter as long as your partner is supporting you. Because the way that I kind of thought about it was, in the beginning, it is easier to kind of get discouraged or get some part of the grind and the journey is like, fuck, am I really doing enough? Am I doing this? But, you know, you're the person you talk to the most is your partner, right? Yeah. And so I think as a business owner, I think your partner is probably going to be the most important person alongside of the journey, because they got to deal with your shit, bro. They got to deal with you getting home at 7 o'clock at night and, you know, networking events, you doing this, whatever. Like, they have to kind of be there. And I think it's important, like you said, to kind of include everybody, right? Like, if you're traveling, having them come with, and those are the things that a lot of business owners, I feel as if, like you said, take it and put it in the back burner. But you kind of have not only have a personal finance audit, not only have a personal business audit, but you got to have a family audit. Like, where am I lacking in every aspect of life, and see how I can grow in every aspect of everything. But one thing that I love to hear, a lot of people, like, their biggest goal and dream, right? When you're in real estate, you're like, I want to open up my own office, or
Yeah.
hey, I want to open up my own mortgage company. Like, this is going to be the best thing, and I'm going to start, I'm going to do this. And very ambitious, very great. And you have been someone who has opened up your own office. And I think that it's also important for people to kind of hear both sides of the perspective when you were working for the firm that you were previously the owner of, and now that you are still a part owner within the branch and the area that you have, but show your experiences of both sides of the business, right? Like owning your own brokerage, because a lot of people don't talk about how much margins are tight when you're owning your own business in a real estate world versus, you know, what you're doing right now and how your brokerage has been able to help you grow in different aspects. So how does it look like on both sides for when you first owned your brokerage to where you're at right now?
Yeah, I guess like if you're in the real estate business, that's the goal, that's the dream, right? You either want to sell a lot of houses and be the top agent in your area, or you want to own your own brokerage, and as a result, you're still the top agent, right? So that was always a goal, because that was the model that was set forth, and that's kind of what I always strived for. And I hit it, I did it, and it was an amazing accomplishment, and I loved it, I enjoyed it in that moment. But then when you're in it, being a business owner overall, it's not easy. It's not for everybody. And being a broker owner, it can be a very lonely place when you're put it, at least for me, I put it all on my shoulders. I want to continue to serve the community, continue to serve my clients, be present for the family, help the family out as much as I can. And by the way, I got all these agents looking for leadership and guidance. And when it's all on you as a broker owner, if you own a boutique firm, it sounds great on paper, it looks great, but it's tough. It's tough when it's all on you. So now that I merged that, it's still the same operations, but I just merged it with like-minded individuals that I kind of came up in the game with. And they're all across the country. Now we have more tools, more resources. Now the people that are with me and here locally can now connect with people across the country. So now it's not just me. Now it's me plus who else? And who else do they connect with? And we're all coming from the same model because we all kind of grew up together from the same coaching program. And with that sort of culture, with that sort of community, now it's like, okay, what's the limit? Because before it's like, yeah, here's my overhead and anything above it, okay, cool. But by myself, you can only go so far.
Mm-hmm.
But with a group of solid individuals around you, and that's in any business, you surround yourself with the right people, the sky's the limit, you know.
Right.
And how far do you want to take it? And maybe when you're down, somebody's going to help you get up, and now you got people behind you. There's more horsepower, manpower behind that, and now there's this energy in what we're building that's really, really, truly special. And so now to me, it's like what I want to do is just, oh man, I got so many options, so many goals, and now they're actually more obtainable a lot quicker than what I thought it could have been. Because by yourself, it's like, yeah, here's my end goal. I'm not getting any younger, so I want to do it sooner rather than later.
Right.
And how long is it going to take for me to get there? Now with this amazing community that we have at PAC, it's just like, okay, I could do this relatively quick.
Right.
And I could get there with quality individuals and leave something that somebody else is then going to carry on and move forward with. And it also gives those agents the opportunity to be one with everybody, as far as that we're all on an equal playing field. Nobody's, oh, you're the managing broker, you're the broker owner. No, it's just, hey, we're all the same. We're all the same here. And if you want what I have, great, you can do it too. And that's what kind of like leading by example really, really means. So I think that's what we have going on here that's truly special.
No, it sounds absolutely amazing. And I think that's some of the main things that I want people to kind of understand is that, like, you know, sometimes in life you have to kind of figure it out. Like, you have to test the waters, and, you know, the owning your own brokerage and figuring out if that's something that you want to do versus, you know, I think when you talked about it, you said it perfectly, is that, you know, sometimes you got to look at it as like, in the outside where it may look as if you're swallowing your pride, but you really didn't do anything different. All you're really doing is you just transition from one brokerage to another. If in that sense, right? Like, different leadership. Obviously, someone else owns the company, but like in reality, it's all you're really doing is hanging your name somewhere else, and you're helping people grow at the end of the day, right?
That's what it came down to. Like, my goal is to help as many people become wealthy and build generational wealth through real estate. Other people do exactly what I did. I came from college dropout. I was trying to be a teacher, truck driving. Then I capped out there, and I'm like, okay, got into real estate because of the opportunity. That's kind of why we all end up here, right? In the real estate industry, the opportunity. And then, yeah, I kind of went up the ranks, and I did what I, on paper, looked like you were supposed to do. And yeah, that seems great. And like I said, I closed over 100 deals a year. Awesome. Top agent in the Chicagoland area. Awesome. And then the next January 1st, you're back at zero. Yeah. And you got to do it all over again. So at what point do you say, man, when am I off this hamster wheel?
Yeah.
And in traditional real estate, you're never off. If you stop picking up the phone, you stop reaching out to people, that's it. Your bills don't get paid, you're done. There's no retirement plan. And then that's the thing. Like, when have you seen a realtor or a lender's retirement party?
Yeah.
There is no such thing, right? So yeah, I got to say, hey, broker owner, great. But even then, that retirement party seemed very far out. I was like, man, I don't want to be doing this for the rest of my life.
Right.
How can I help others do what I'm doing at a high level, but at the same time, do it in less time? And by myself, I just couldn't do it. So yeah, I took my brokerage, and I just said, hey, let me become part owner, merge it with another brokerage, with people that are like-minded, that we work well together, and that give others opportunities. So now, not only are we in the Chicagoland area, but now we're in 8 different states across the country: California, nice. Texas, Arkansas, Nevada, Colorado, Florida. We're opening up El Salvador. So now we're even going nice. Across different countries. So nice. It's really exciting to just see the growth.
Yeah.
And then at that point, now I'm like, okay, there's a retirement plan here.
Right.
So
yeah.
That's what it kind of came down to. By myself, you're never retiring.
Right.
With other people, okay, you could build something.
No, 100%.
That could last for generations.
100%. And I think I want to show people the power of networking, the power of not being afraid to ask questions, not being afraid of coaching, not being afraid of looking at mentorship, because that's ultimately what led you to the journey that you're at right now. 2 years ago, it felt as if you kind of accomplished everything that you want to accomplish, but then you met some coaches, helped you coach even when you were owning your own brokerage. And these coaches ultimately were like, oh, let's open up our own thing. And they included you within that.
Yeah.
And none of this opportunity would have happened if you didn't have that level of mentorship and that level of just relationship building. Like, you built a relationship with them, and now they felt as if they can confide in you and open up something in Illinois on, and scale it to the things that you're doing. 8 states is huge, Yeah. So I want you to kind of, like, what was the main things that you learned when you were in coaching and mentorship? Like, when you're coaching agents and you're trying to build a business, what did you learn yourself that kind of helped you kind of propel to where you're at right now?
Everything we do in this industry, it comes down to your mindset. Whether you believe you could do it or you believe you can't do it, you're always going to be right. And if you work on the mindset, everything else will fall in place. And it's really amazing to see, just by writing in your journal, building some healthy habits, jumping on some calls throughout the week where you snap out of those funks that we're always going to get in. We're human, right? We have our ups, we have our downs. But that personal development side allows you to, at a high level, work on your skills and treat your business like a business. Michael Jordan didn't just become Michael Jordan. He had his coach. Right. His coach was with him, and he was getting coached till the end of his career. He knew everything about the game of basketball. He didn't need somebody to tell him how to shoot the ball, but he had a coach. So in real estate, a lot of us we get our license, and then especially the realtors, we get our license and, I already know what to do. Right. We don't know anything.
Right.
You'll be surprised how many don't even know how to draft an offer,
right.
and much less show a house, and negotiate.
Right.
Forget it. So it's one of those things where, like, those basics comes down to the mindset that you have, and something as simple as, like, let me start eating cleaner. Let me start working out, taking care of me in the morning, so then I can show up with the right attitude and energy to my clients to provide the best service possible, and speak with a certain conviction that leads them in the transaction, will then eventually pay results. 100%. And that builds a longevity business where now you don't have to always be hunting for it. Now business is coming at you because you provide a good service. And it starts with getting coached, because if I'm in a funk and I show up in a bad attitude to deal with a client, they're not going to want to continue working with me, much less refer me, right? So those were the things that I learned, aside from treating your business like an actual business. And then as a result, with the highs and the lows of the business, how to navigate and do all of that on the personal side, where you start saying, communicate with your partners, set the intentions, set goals, speak it into reality type of thing, and then include your loved ones, and even do the audit. I think you mentioned that earlier. Yeah. You have to do those audits. That's another thing that I got from the coaching, where it's like, if you're not serving me either in business or in my personal life, I will love you from afar. But and if you are serving me, then we're going to connect and get closer and grow together. And those were huge game changers for me. And even till this day, even when you think you have it figured out, I'm still getting coached. I'm still getting mentorship. I'm giving the coaching to others, but I'm still receiving it myself, you know? 100%. So it's one of those things that it's kind of never ending. And I just don't see that ever going away. I think that's why I wanted to be a teacher when I was even a young kid. Yeah. So now I'm achieving that dream and that goal, but teaching real estate.
A little bit of everything, bro. You're a driver, a teacher, you do everything, bro. When you're a realtor, you never.
Yeah, I mean, when you're a realtor, you kind of have to do it all, right? Yeah. So it worked out.
No, that's dope, man. I think that I never heard that perspective, which I love, that your production is based on mindset. The better your mindset's going to be, the more production you'll do, simply because you're in a better state of mind. You're in something that you're always in the mindset of learning. And I think that's super important. I think my business really started to take off and get a lot better when I actually started learning more. Like when I was like,
I mean, I see listening to people. Yeah. I saw you come into the game in the industry, right? And you're just like, hey, I'm out there and putting myself out there. But then following you, I see you wake up in the morning and you go get a workout, right? And I don't think you do it just because you want to do it. You do it for a reason. And
right.
Like what are you getting coaching on the side?
I like to say no, yes. Yeah. I 100% get mentorship. Like I don't directly have like a coach per se. I say my uncle's my coach. You might Dwight. Yeah. Dwight is kind of like my coach. Like he's always yelling at me, telling me you gotta be better or whatever. Like, so that to me is my coach, and I think that it's fun. YouTube University, bro. It like
I was gonna say
it's like, you know, I honestly could say it. Every single morning I listen to podcasts, I read books, I try to like stimulate my mind in different ways. And then obviously I have my in-person, my family and my uncle who kind of steer me into the right direction, where it's like, hey, look, I've been through this, I've done this, and I have so many different things that my mind is always going. I'm always like trying to go on the move. And one thing I was taught pretty early is that Dwight actually taught me is like, don't waste your time learning things from individuals that you don't want to be like. Yeah. Right. Like if you have someone that the perception is that, oh man, they got so much money, they're doing this, but you look at it and you're trying to learn from them, but in reality, you don't want their life. Why are you learning from them?
Right.
Right. Like if they're not a family man, if they're not in the level of business that you want to be at, why are you wasting your time looking at their page saying that, hey, this person's on vacation all the time, they drive this car, they do this, they do that, but then you like really dive into it and you're like, wait, that's not the life that I want. Like, right. I want to share these experiences with my family. I want this. I want my business to be this. Learn from those individuals.
Right.
And that's why I gravitate towards people like you, is like, I love people's mindsets that, you know, they're very family oriented, but they're very successful in their business. And one thing that I found is that exactly that. They have some sort of mentorship. They have some sort of coach that kind of steers them in the right direction they need to be at. And in order for you to grow and excel, you have to continue to surround yourself with individuals like that, because it's really easy to steer off, bro. Like, you know, it's easy to steer off from your business. It's easy to steer off from your family, from financials. Like, it's hard to manage everything at once, but at least if you have someone kind of overseeing that, and if you're constantly trying to learn, it's very hard for you not to succeed, to be the best version of yourself, because you're always surrounded by that, you know. And one thing that I appreciate for you and what I've seen for you is that, you know, for you to have the capability and, you know, the ability to say, hey, look, I'm going to still work, but be out in Mexico for 3 weeks, which in some people's eyes might be like, oh my God, he's gone for 3 weeks, his business and da-da-da. And I probably would be one of those people that's like, fuck, dude, like my business, da-da-da. But I respect it in a different way, in the family aspect of it. And I will say that, you know, man to man, like that's something for you to have the ability to, you know, put your family first. And still, obviously, you're still working, you're still doing the things that you got to do. But that to me is like, is much more respectable than anything, because you yourself are able to give your family an experience that at one point in time you might not have appreciated, but the more time that you have to grow with your family and you see it, it makes you appreciate it more, and your girls get to see it, and you're able to grow as a family. So how was that experience like, just being out and just like, you know, living life in a different country that's a lot slower pace? We're always on the go, but how was that experience compared to where we're at right now?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, we're from a small town in Durango, Mexico, arriba Durango, La Puri. So I grew up there. You know, I was born in Los Angeles, but both my parents are from there. My wife is also from the same town. So it's kind of like that's our foundation, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like molded you. And I was there till I was 5, then started going to school here, but then I would go back in the summers. I saw my grandpa. I grew up with my grandparents. One of them was a professor down there, a teacher. So that influenced me heavy. And then the other one was a rancher. So cows, horses. That influenced me super heavy. So that, I feel like that created me who I was as a kid, and who I am now started there. And I've been blessed that my wife is also from there. So we kind of come and go. And when I was first, obviously, early on, my 20s, early 30s, going on a vacation was like, what? I got to work. I got to make money. I got to, build something. So I never did it, and I felt like I should have done more of that earlier. So when we had our girls, it was kind of like a non-negotiable. Now it's like, okay, I want to make it a habit that we go to Mexico once or twice a week. And it was something that I kind of had to work through coaching, personal development, mindset. Because at first it is very scary. Like, hey, I'm going to be away for a couple of days. A weekend trip was like, oh my God, no cell service. What are you talking about? And I remember our first vacations with me and my wife. She would purposely try to book hotels without any Wi-Fi so I could like disconnect for a little bit. But little did she know the taxi had Wi-Fi, the lobby had Wi-Fi. So I would say, hey, I'm gonna do a little
use the bathroom.
Yeah, I'll be right back and just answer some emails, right? But what I started noticing was that, and this is something I tell to all my agents: if your business is slow, book a trip. And then watch how your phone is ringing as you're trying to board a plane and things catch on fire and need your attention like right now. So it's actually something that somehow it's this weird energy that just generates more business. It's by trying to disconnect. And the beautiful thing is that you are able to build a business and a team around you with solid people that are there to support you, that can service your clients while you're in Mexico. So a lot of people say, oh, you're in Mexico, it must be nice, you just left your business. Oh, my business is still running. I got a great team behind me, and they help me take care of those people so it doesn't miss a beat. And then they just keep communication on. So yes, I unplug, I spend time with the family, but when I hit that hotspot, I check it. And at least that gives me a little peace of mind. Like, okay, business is moving. If anything needs my attention, I do it. It also helps me get more efficient because I don't have time to just sit on the computer all day. So I handle what needs to get handled in that moment. It helps you kind of get unattached to things. If the deal falls through, and I've had many deals fall through while I'm going on vacation and whatnot, but never has it been because I was on vacation. That deal was falling apart whether I was here in town or away. So it's one of those things that you just kind of have to kind of work through it. And now I know that, yes, I'm able to build it. I got the right team. I'm able to still do and operate that while I'm away. And now I'm getting to spend those quality moments with my family and have my girls see that lifestyle from over there, which it is much slower pace. It is different. It's just, we're up in the mountains, and it's just the sunrises and the sunsets and the air. It's just a different pace of life, where now the goal is to say, are we able to live part-time over there and part-time here? Are we able to do both? And that's another thing that I was like, you got to do one or the other. A lot of people come from Mexico and then they kind of set roots here, and then this is all they do. And then eventually the goal is to go and retire over there. But now it's like, with the way the world works, why not do both?
Right.
It's always this or that. What about this and that?
Right.
And that's another thing that I always got, where it's like, we're only in this life once, and why not me, and why not now? And let me go after what I want to do and what makes me happy, versus one day I'll maybe build a house over. One day I'll retire. One day I will travel. One day I will take that weekend getaway. If you're able to do it, work for it and get it done. And that's what I've always been trying to do with my life. And it comes down to obviously having the right people around you and you're the right partner, and all of that is key. And I think kind of what we've been talking about today, that what you want to do, it is attainable. Other people are doing it. Why not you?
Right.
You know?
Right. No, I actually do love that. And one thing I want to point out is that, like you said, it took time for you to build that, and for you to have, as we talk about mindset, like for you to have that mindset to be able to do that, because you talk about your 2030s and those things took your time to build your team, to be able to trust people to do that. And I think that sometimes it almost hurts your business more to grow too quick. And then, when you try and grow too quick, you try to do those things, and that's why businesses fall apart, why you go away. But it's because people didn't set the foundation, the roots of their business to be able to step away and grow to the point where you can take a nice vacation and not have to worry about it, because your team got it. You got it taken care of. You got the right people in place to be able to do so. And another thing that you talked about that it really did hit me, that I do agree with, is that, like you said, setting goals, like having the right expectation, like by this timeline, I feel as if we're going to do this. And once we hit it, then we are going to do this, right? So, hey, once I grow my business to X point and I have enough database or whatever to create enough income to where I'm here, we're going to live half and half, whether it be in Mexico or in the United States. And those are the clear pictures that you kind of have to have with yourself. You actually said this that I never heard anybody in the industry talk about a lot, which is retirement. You're right. Like you're all you think about is like, okay, next deal, next year, this deal, but and one thing that I wanted to make it clear to myself was that exactly that, like, hey, I know how much I have to invest in order for me to be able to retire at X, Y, and Z. Right. And I'm going to do it by this time. And I had that conversation again with walks and doing things, because I don't hear that. Like, you do hear a lot of the accomplishments of the material things in this industry, obviously, right. Like, oh, the new car, the watch, whatever. But no one really talks about that part of the business, which is retiring. And that's because our business is so fast paced that you get so caught up in the present and you don't really take a look at the future. And I think there should be more conversations about retirement in our industry and how can you set yourself up so that way future you can do that. I want to live half and half here and still have the ability of, still producing and still creating some sort of income. But now, I'll let my team handle the database and figure those things out. And I think that, you kind of sparked something in me. I think that that's something that people need to talk about a lot more, man.
It was a game changer for me, because, when I was coming up in the industry, you want to be the top guy. You want to produce at a high level. You want to get the recognition and the acknowledgments and get paid and set yourself and your family up valid. Let's do it. But like I said, I've closed 120 deals a year. It was like, great, awesome. I made so much money. Look, Mom, I make more than any doctor we ever know. Yeah. Like, who needs college? I got this. Yeah. And then you close the deal. Congratulations. Go do it again and again and again. And I'm like, whoa, okay, hold on. When is this? Yeah. When do I get to coast and kind of reap the fruits of my labor here? And you don't, right? You got to make investments on the side. You got to, invest in real estate, XYZ. Yes, valid. But as a professional in the industry, I would go to these networking events, coaching events with realtors, renew your license. And here comes the realtor to renew his license. I mean, they're 70, 80? Like, I'm looking at them like, whoa, wow. Don't get me wrong. I love what I do. Yeah. I don't think I'll ever stop doing. I like the business. I like negotiating. I like helping people meet their goals. That drives me. But there's got to be a point in time where I don't want to have to do it for a paycheck because I need to pay my bills. Right. When does that stop? And I didn't see any of that happening. I got attracted to real estate because my OG mentor, which till this day we have an amazing relationship, I saw him in Mexico, in our hometown, all summer long, I was like, what the hell does that guy do? Because whatever he's doing, he's here. I'm out of school. I got, a couple months out, and people are going back to the States to work, and this guy's still here living
Right.
the life. Whatever he's doing, I want to do. And fast forward, I end up, getting mentored directly by him. But then at some point, I'm like, okay, fast forward, how do I get out of the rat race every day? These agents close 100 deals, great, but then they got to do it all over again to maintain that lifestyle. So we need to set ourselves up where we make the proper investments, we have the proper team, foundations in place, and you need a company, especially in real estate. The old brokerage model, it's like, go get him, Tiger, and then do it all over again, and nobody's guiding you and coaching you. But if you have the right company with the right model in place, that gives you, for example, now we have a coaching based company that is going to help you with the mindset, that's going to help you with the skills. But now there's a rev share model where if you help grow the company, you're getting paid passively without any of your energy and effort. You help grow it enough, it's going to cover your car note, it's going to cover your mortgage, it's going to cover something,
Right.
So now that stress of having to close that client that's being undecisive because it's not the right property for them goes away, where you can now provide a better service and eventually kind of take yourself out of the equation where you don't have to be the one always selling the houses.
Right.
Now you're just kind of saying, hey, I help all these people come into this amazing community. They're getting the proper coaching, they're getting the proper guidance, they're growing, they're building the business of their dreams from anywhere. And as a result, I could kind of take these 2-3 week vacations and not feel bad about it, and still have the same lifestyle, still get my bills paid. And that's what we're trying to build here at PAC, where you set yourself up for that retirement plan if you want it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever retire, but I want to be able to get to the point where I don't have to go and meet
Right.
that client and open that door to pay my bill.
Well,
So,
that's true financial freedom. Like
yeah.
when you get to the point where you make the decision whether or not you're like, I want to get up at this time, I want to do this, not because you have to, because you want to, right?
Right.
But what do you feel like that was your turning point? What was the point in time where, like, how did it wake up? Or did you wake up a little bit different that day? Was there like a certain thing that kind of hit you?
Yeah, kids, my two daughters, and my father had a stroke, and he's still with us.
Sorry to hear that, man.
But at a really young age, he was only in his mid 50s, and he had a stroke. And it's like, well, we're not here for a long time,
Right.
and let's make the best of the time we do have. And when we have health, that's real abundance right there. The money, the material, that's all extra. So then that kind of like, whoa, okay, why am I doing what I'm doing? Because your life is going to change from one moment to the next with something like that hits you, right? And I'm blessed that my father is still here, and we're helping him get back to recover. And I don't think this is something I'm very open about, because
100%.
it's hard to kind of just from one day to the next, your
like
life
that.
just changed. And then we had our second baby shortly after that. That just made me like hyper focused on like, I got to take care of myself to be there for them. And the day that I'm not here, when my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ decides to take me up there, they're going to be set. They're going to be okay. So how can I help as many other people build that career that I built in real estate? And as a result, somehow I'm going to be receiving abundance where I'm taking care of my family as a result. And that's what just changed, where it's like no longer is about how many deals I close. I just want to help families. I want to help them meet their goals, make them happy, and somehow I'm going to be able to provide for my family,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And now let me help another person help their family, and somehow it's going to help me.
100%.
And that's what true success to me now looks like, because I want to be there to be able to take care of my father, my mother, my wife, and my daughters, and that's what matters.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I think you hit the nail on the head, man. I think you're right about true success is really having the capability of growing true leaders within your own family, your daughters, but also being able to help the people that you love. Like, that's obviously one of the most important things in life, and just help everybody grow around you. Like
Right.
if you're able to produce great leaders in life, for people who are genuinely going to help the world be a better place, that to me is true success, and having the capability, the financial freedom to like quit your job when you actually want to. Like if you want to, you great, you can continue to do it, but really have the financial freedom to help your loved ones, even if you were no longer here, help them be able to live a prosperous life. And even when you have your loved ones here currently, being able to provide for them financially is like all those things combined together just create true success. And I think that in order for you to kind of understand and know that, you really have to dive deep into why you're doing what you do every single day, and that alone will allow you to wake up every single morning and give you the motivation to be able to continue to do the things you have to do, but also understand, put a target date on like, hey, by the time I'm 40, 50 years old, I want to start, dialing it down a little bit, so that way I can truly enjoy my life with my kids at an age. And a lot of people don't have that vision, that plan, and that's, I think, it's actually probably one of the biggest downfalls of our industry, is that we don't have a lot of people that speak about that. It's like, hey, look, this is my time. This is my time, like when I want to actually get out.
Yeah, like I said, I was seeing these agents renewing their license. They're 70, 80 years old. What's their plan? You know, I would go to these networking events, and this guy was talking about it. We were at lunch, and he was talking about after the event, he was gonna go and look at planes. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Go buy a plane? Hold on. That's very motivating. But the dude's on the phone 8 hours a day, and the moment he stops picking up the phone, he's not paying for that plane. You know what I mean? So I was like, at what point does that stop? And what's really important? Being on the phone for 8 hours, or can I do the same amount if I want a plane and still be able to get it, but still be present for my family and still be able to provide and help and enjoy those moments? Because at the end of the day, for me, you want to have the watches, the cars, the houses, all of that, but for me the highlights is when I'm like walking the dogs with my girls laughing, when I'm having that walk with my father, when we're going horse riding together and just having a conversation. Those are the highlights. Those are the things you remember. So I hit 40. I think that also happened. I just turned 41, so Congrats. It's one of those things where I'm like, well, okay, I gotta get to where I want to get to sooner rather than later, right? Yeah. So then at that point, it's like, let's start working. And what's the best way to do it? We're in an industry where let's help others do what we're doing. What I'm learning, I just want to pass it on to others. Let me teach you what I learned the hard way. Yeah. So you get there sooner and quicker, and then you help somebody else, and you help somebody else, and as a result, we all grow together.
100%. I love that. And I every single podcast that I have done, first and foremost, I want to say thank you so much for what you've said so far. It's helped me personally, and that's why I love the podcast, bro. It helps me mentally keep going and definitely drive me. But I always like to wrap everything up with this question, so that everyone can kind of understand, your perspective on life. And if you had to replay everything, right? Like if you had to talk to the younger version of yourself, what is one thing that you would tell the younger version of yourself about all the things that you learned about life today?
Oh man, great question. I never thought of that. I would just say, if I were able to talk to the younger version of myself, I would just tell him everything's gonna be all right. You got this. Yeah. Don't doubt yourself. Just keep going. Follow your gut instinct, and you are successful. You will be successful. You are already successful, and just step into your power.
I love that, man. I love that. Well, man, bro, any lasting remarks you want to say?
No, man, I just want to thank you for having me on again. It's always great to connect with you. I admire you. I see everything that you're doing, and wish you nothing but much continued success.
Thank you so much, bro. Well, for everybody that has watched, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. There was a lot of definitely big tips and tricks that you guys can take note of. But if you haven't already, I want to make sure that you like, subscribe, turn on your post notifications, and make sure you have your cafecito.